Hey guys, how are you? It's Jeff. Mike's here. He's not out of town. There's just a couple things I wanted to go through with you. But before we do that, Jerry's got some product news for us. So go ahead, Jerry, take it away.
Yeah, hey, good morning, guys. I hope you can see my screen here. Can you see the rates right here, Jeff?
Yep, we sure can.
Yep.
Okay, perfect, perfect. Well, hey guys, good morning. I'm glad to be with you guys. As always, it's exciting time of year here. Rates seem like they're going up all the time, and one moment I'm excited about something, and something else is happening. So it's just happy, exciting news. But I spoke with everyone just a couple of weeks ago about two things in particular: Equitrust and Lincoln, who I still love, but their rates are getting even better. So I said, "Gosh, I got to get on the call here and let everybody know because it's exciting." There's pretty insane what you can get with these rates right now. And so what I want to point out here with Lincoln, just this notice just came out. If no one saw this, this came out on Friday. Lincoln is raising their rates again. They just raised them on the 15th. I don't know if you guys can see this here, but they're raising them again. So this column here, I just want to point out to you guys, on 7/1, so July 1st, they're raising their rates again. And I'm going to scroll down here quick. So they do have a band. They have their 100 plus band and then their below 100 plus band. I'm focusing on the 100 plus band right now, but they're raising their cap, S&P cap, to 9%. So 9%. Now, you have the Fidelity Index. I was just telling someone that, like a year and a half, 2 years ago, this is at 50% participation, 200% participation. The BlackRock, 200% participation. Okay. You go down to the 2-year BlackRock, 275 participation rate. Their S&P par rate's at 40%. Someone, and I do want to bring this up too as well, and this is a fantastic product. If you guys aren't familiar with the Lincoln OptiBlend 10, this is a growth-focused product, kind of a bond alternative type of deal here. 10% free withdrawals in the first year and thereafter. If you ever run into any non-qualified stretches, they'll actually take that in this product as well. But one thing I wanted to point out too while I was on this topic is I've had some people who are like, hey, is this just, are all these awesome rates? Is this just a trick by the carriers and they're gonna lower them down the next year? No, what we're experiencing right now is, and we've all been hearing about it on the news everywhere, is interest rates are going up. So as interest rates are going up, that you end up having products that have much better caps and participation rates. Those of you that were doing insurance work back in the early 2000s would remember that the rates were through the roof, comp through the roof. You may even see, eventually here, if rates keep going up, you may even start seeing comp with some of these products going up too as well. So this isn't a mirage where it's just a 1-year type of thing. It's the insurance companies reacting to the marketplace and putting competitive product out there for you guys. So really exciting, A+ rated. I love Lincoln. There's a lot of really good stuff with them, and I want you guys to be aware. If you're not using them, if you're not aware of them, this is a carrier you should be looking at. Phenomenal rates there. There's some other rate changes too as well. I'm going to flip over to Equitrust. Equitrust did some rate changes. Where I think that they're fantastic right now is if you want a good growth product where you can get some good returns, but you also need a bonus because maybe there's a surrender charge, or maybe you want to give some a little bit of bump after the market took a little bit away from them, something like that. Equitrust has some great rates too as well for their bonus products. The Market Power bonus, this is available in a lot of states, even some of the states that don't allow 14-year products. They actually shrink the surrender charge period down for you in those states. There's just a couple variations, but just want to show you this product. This is a product here that has a 10% premium bonus on it, and you can call me if you want to see if it's available. If you need a big premium bonus, the fact that they got a built-in 3% fixed rate on the product, you got a 6% S&P cap, and if you're not familiar with the S&P Mark V, it's in a lot of the annuities out there. 130% participation rate is out of this world for this big of a bonus on a product. And then they have their Barclays index at 115 and 150 respectively. What are you looking at for probably a 10-year return on those? You're probably looking on that Barclays and S&P Mark V, probably in that 6.5 to 7.5% range. So to be able to target something like that with a 10% premium bonus is pretty awesome. And like I said, if you got something they just want to get a little bit fixed interest rate, want to slide over into it, to be able to get a 3% guarantee is really good. So wanted to point that out. They're great for if I need a bonus, but I still want to get some growth on the contract. That's where they are. One other one they have, if we want a little bit better rates than Market Power, the Market 10 bonus here. This is another bonus product they have. By the way, these products, the Lincoln and this, they're all flexible premium too. Equitrust pays full comp up to the maximum issue age. On most of their products, it's age 80. So a lot of, it's nice, if great product with older age folks too as well. The Market 10 is a 6% premium bonus, flexible premium. You get that premium bonus on all premiums in the first 5 years, so of 6%. 3.2% fixed rate right here. I love that. We still have a great cap that we have here, the S&P at 6, but our participation rates on the Barclays and the S&P Mark 5 right here, 140 on the S&P Mark 5, so it's a little higher than our other product there, and then 165 here on the 2-year Barclays, and then 120 on the 1 year. So a little bit better rates there. One thing to note again too as well is inherited IRAs. If you guys are running into inherited IRAs, I think Equitrust is probably the premier carrier to use for inherited IRAs, simply because they have a very unique feature none of the other carriers have, where when you have to, especially post 2020 Secure Act, we have to have that money taken out over a 10-year period. Well, the cool thing with this product is you can go into a 10-year product with it, because if there's any money left over in this contract, once you hit the 10-year mark, they automatically slide it over a non-qualified account, which is what you would have to do anyways, is you'd have to pay taxes on that remaining amount. But with this product, it just slides it over and makes it a non-qualified account. So that's how they do it there. But pretty exciting. I just wanted to let you guys all know about. If you're not looking at Lincoln or Equitrust, I think we should be looking at them definitely for, they're both growth-orientated products, so bond alternative. If you want to take just free withdrawals here and there, that's what they're good for. And then Equitrust, really good if you need a bonus product that actually can get you a solid yield on it. So I want to let you guys know about those updates. Equitrust, theirs went into effect. Lincoln, theirs is going into effect on July 1st. That's what I got for you. If you have questions, reach out to Matt, Dan, or myself, and we'll get you squared away and get you details, get you anything that you need on those.
All right, let me switch back to my screen here. So guys, that's really good news. And the trick is, when you get news like that, to think about how can I use that? What can I do with that information? Because it's exciting. And I know we're all thinking, you know what, that would be something that that's going to make it a lot easier going forward to pitch annuities. But the idea is you can also use that information if you're going back to existing clients, which I know for most of you, when I talk to you, that's primarily what you're doing, and that's what you should be doing. So think about existing clients. How would this help them? Well, remember, if you still have people that are in bonds, these interest rates are killing them. They're getting crushed. Bonds are getting crushed as the Fed is raising interest rates and talking about raising interest rates. It just kind of feeds on itself. So if you still have clients in bonds, this is a great way to go back to those people and do bond replacements. So interest rates going up helps you there. Another idea for this is going back to existing clients who might already have annuities, but we've talked about how income annuities actually charge you a rider. And with interest rates going up, might be a good time to refinance their old annuities and get these better rates. I can't imagine anybody out there that sold an annuity in the last 5 years has a cap rate of 9, like Jerry just talked about. So it can be very appealing. So bond replacements, even refinancing old annuities. And then I guess the third idea that I think of is those fixed rates are really good. I mean, we're looking at fixed rates of 3, 3.2. I've heard as high as 3.5. So if you have clients that are holding a lot of cash and thinking, I don't really know what to do right now. There's a lot of volatility. The market's down. I'm just going to hold cash. A good idea is to go back to them and say, hey, why don't we take that cash, earn 3%, 3.2% each year, and just dollar cost average into the market. I read a lot of articles and I hear a lot of things about buying the dip in the market. And I think everything that you read and everything that you hear will tell you not really a good idea. In the sense that you don't want to go all in. That's that's the exact same thing as trying to time the market. And we don't know what's going to happen. So probably not the best idea to load up on cash and then all of a sudden try and buy a dip. The best thing to do over time is the thing that works best year in, year out, decade in, decade out is buy and hold. So dollar cost averaging is really the best way to get into the market. So if you've got cash and you're looking to get in, you don't want to just hold it in a savings account that's paying less than 1%. That 3%, 3.2% rate is looking really good, and then just take a 10% withdrawal each year and average into the market. So those are some ideas on how you can use these rate increases that Jerry's talking about. And it's not just Equitrust and it's not just Lincoln. I'm going to guess that everybody's going to follow suit pretty soon. So if you have a company that you like that hasn't raised their rates yet, I wouldn't be surprised if by the end of the year they're trying to do the same thing that these other companies are doing. So today, I actually want to talk to you about a couple things, but the first thing I want to talk to you about is time, and specifically the time it takes to close a case from beginning to end. So how long should it take to close a case from beginning to end? Well, it kind of depends on who we're talking about. So if we're talking about a prospect, somebody who's coming from a workshop or coming from a lead or coming from some sort of a mailer that you've done, whatever it is, I would say it probably should take about 4 to 5 weeks from beginning to end to close a completely cold prospect, somebody who's gone to a workshop and decided to meet with you. So about a week from the end of the workshop to the agreement meeting, a week to 10 days from the agreement meeting to the 21-point checklist meeting, and then maybe another week from the 21-point checklist meeting to the implementation meeting, and then maybe a few days to wrap things up. So it's probably 4.5 weeks for a prospect. Now, I know a lot of you are going back to existing clients. So how long should it take if you're bringing an existing client through the process? So existing client means maybe you have some of their money, but not all. Maybe they're a tax client. You want them to become an investment client. How long should it take to get somebody like that from beginning to end? I would say 2.5 to 3 weeks, because you're able to bypass the marketing. And more than likely, they're going straight to a 21-point checklist meeting. So the person that I'm talking about, or people will say, well, I've got this client who gave me their investment statements. Can you run a Morningstar for me? And so I run a Morningstar for you. I'm going to guess that you're going to meet with that person in the next week or two. But that's not typically what happens, and that's why I want to talk about this a little bit. Typically what I see are cases that go 4 or 5 weeks between meetings. So I might get a request for a Morningstar, and then 5 weeks later, they'll tell me, yeah, I've got that meeting with that client coming up. And then I'll ask them how that meeting went, and they'll tell me, well, you know, I haven't been able to get back in touch with them, but, you know, I'm not that worried. They're a client. So, you know, I know they were going on vacation. I know there was this or that. And then I'll find out it's been 10 or 12 weeks and they're inching toward a resolution. And that's too long. I mean, you might think, well, I mean, if it takes 10, 12 weeks, so what? I mean, as long as the case closes, right? And I'll tell you that those cases can and sometimes do close, because I've seen you guys do it. So I'm not here to tell you that it can't be done, that it isn't possible. It's possible. I know it's possible because I've seen you do it. But a lot can go wrong, and a lot has gone wrong when I talk to you guys when you drag it out that far. So that's not really the way you want to do it. So this is a picture of a broken egg. It's everybody's favorite example of what we call the second law of thermodynamics. And the second law of thermodynamics basically says, you know, everything tends towards disorder. Everything gets more messy over time. So we're not surprised when we see a broken egg. We're like, ugh, either we broke it or on purpose to cook it, or we might see it on the sidewalk as we're walking by and think, huh, somebody dropped an egg. What you don't see is a broken egg going back and turning itself into a whole egg. You might walk past your kid's bedroom and see that it's dirty. What you don't see is that you walk past one day and all of a sudden the room just cleaned itself. It doesn't happen that way. Everything moves towards disorder over time. And the way that that affects us is we typically will put it a different way. We'll call it Murphy's Law. We'll say that anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And then I'm going to add a little caveat to that, given enough time. So things aren't going wrong yet. The longer we take to do something, to close a case, the more likely it is that something will go wrong in that in-between time. And so what I want to talk about is how do we address that? How do we kind of resolve that? Now, we're caught in kind of a dilemma, especially if we're working with existing clients. Because existing clients, they might not want to go fast. They want to go slow. And we want to go at their pace. I mean, we don't want to push, especially if they're an existing client. We don't want to drive them away. So they want to go slow and we want to go at their pace. So naturally you would think, well, then it's just going to take a little bit longer. But remember, the time that it takes to close a case from beginning to end, it matters. The longer something goes, the more likely it is that something's going to go wrong. So when I say something's going to go wrong, what am I talking about? What could go wrong? Well, let's just think about some things that could go wrong. The market could go up. Why would that be a bad thing, you might think? Well, because you all know when the market goes up, how many changes do people want to make? None. Or the market could go down. Why would that be? How would that affect things? You would think that might even make it better, but we've all heard before people tell us, hey, I've lost so much money, I can't do anything right now. I have to wait till it comes back up. Or interest rates could go up even more, creating more uncertainty. Now, those are some of the economic things, some of the investment things that could go wrong during that 10 or 12 weeks that we're taking to close a case. But it might have nothing to do with the economy. It could be during those 10 or 12 weeks, my spouse, we were able to get in and they're going to have knee replacement surgery. So I'm going to be focused on that for a while. Or my oldest daughter just got engaged, or my youngest son just got engaged. So we're going to be putting everything on hold and planning a wedding. That's the problem with taking 10 or 12 weeks. It isn't just the economy could change. It's their life could change. I mean, you name it, given enough time, the list of things that can go wrong doesn't get shorter, it gets longer. So the example that I always give everybody is, suppose I'm thinking about buying a car. So I've had my car for a long time and I try and keep it nice, but I also know that over the years, my car, the cars have gotten better. So I'm not sitting here saying my car is nice, but it's not the nicest car, the newest car on the block. So I think to myself, you know what? Maybe it's time to start looking at a new car. Now, I hate going to the car lot because every time I go to the car lot, they try and put the hard sell on me. They want me to take a test drive, which is fine. That's what I'm there to do. I'm there to look at cars and I'm there to take a test drive. But after the test drive, what is it they always want me to do? Right away, they want me to decide what? Thumbs up or thumbs down on the new car. And I always say, you know, I just want to, you know, I'm still collecting information. I just want to think about it. But the reason they want me to decide sooner rather than later is they know that the longer I take to think about it, the more likely I am to do it or the less likely I am to do it. Less likely by far. I start going home and thinking about things like, well, I really need a car for the winter and it's summer. Maybe I'll I'll look at this again in October. Or I don't know, this one's paid off. Do I really want another car payment right now? Or I don't know, maybe this would be a good car if I could just drive it a few more years. My 13-year-old son will be 16 and I can just give it to him. Maybe I just hold on a little bit longer. Who knows, whatever. The longer it takes, the more likely it is that I'm going to change my mind. And that's just human nature. When we start dragging cases out 10, 12, 15 weeks, the longer it takes, the more likely it is that something's going to come up. Now, a lot of you will tell me, well, but these cases do close eventually. And even if it takes 18, 20 weeks to close, what difference does it make as long as it closes? Well, the answer is when I talk to you guys and I listen to your stories and your experiences, what I'm learning is that you do get those cases after 18 or 20 weeks, but you don't do them because you just let it take its time. You get them because they're clients and you have 4 or 5 bites at the apple. So what do I mean by that? Well, they wanted to do something. Then they changed their mind. And it went another 4 or 5 weeks. Then they changed their mind again, bite number 2 at the apple. But then you took a long time and they changed their mind again. And then time passes and they come back and say, well, maybe you convince them to revisit it. Bite number 3 at the apple. And that's fine if they're a tax client or something like that. So they're your client for years and years, no matter what. You're going to get 2 or 3 bites of the apple. That's why we do things like that. So that we can get 2 or 3 bites of the apple. But let me tell you, that doesn't work with prospects. You get 1 bite at the apple. And so how good do you have to be? And my concern is that if you're practicing taking 20 weeks to close a case, then when you get somebody new, even a referral, if that's your habit, taking 20 weeks, you're not going to bring them on. Too many things are going to go wrong between the time that you meet them and the time that you close, and you're not going to get another chance. You're going to have to wait for them to go to another workshop. You're going to have to wait for them to respond to another lead. You could even burn through referrals that way. They're going to find somebody else in 20 weeks. So we want to not practice taking a long time. We want to practice, keeping it tight. So here's the question that I always get. When does the clock start ticking? So if we should be closing people in 3 weeks, maybe if it's a client, or 5 weeks if it's a prospect, when do the 5 weeks start? Or when did the 2 weeks start? Well, for a prospect, the clock starts ticking once they come in for an agreement meeting. It's not once they come in for a workshop, because we've all had this experience. You do a workshop, somebody makes an appointment, and then they don't show. So it can stall after the marketing. And then that happens. And that's happened to everybody. So if that happens to you, what can you do? Well, there is something you can do. We have something out on the 5Q website, and the easiest way to find it is just to go to that opening page, that page that just pops up when you log in, and click on something called the Communication and Office Workflow Guide. There's a whole manual on things that you can do if somebody no-shows to an event, or somebody no-shows to an appointment. There's all kinds of ways to look out, so or to call back to them, or to reach out. So if you're wondering, what do I do if they didn't come to their first appointment, it's all there in the manual. Okay, so the clock starts ticking once they come to the agreement meeting. When does the clock start ticking if they're a client? Because that's where I see most of the problem. You guys are reaching out to clients, you're getting their investment statements, and that's when the clock starts ticking, once they give you the statements. So once they give you the statements, it shouldn't take 10 or 12 weeks from that point. It should take 2 or 3 weeks. So again, if somebody doesn't make an appointment doesn't keep an appointment, you can go to this communication and office workflow guide and find out how you reach back to them. But really, it's incumbent on us that once they come in, that we give them reasons to come back. And so if it's a prospect, we give them reasons to come back at the agreement meeting when we go through the goals. We know that when they come to an event or respond to an ad or reach out for some sort of a lead, they just have one question that they want answered. They don't have any intention of coming back unless we give them reasons, and that's what the goals are, reasons to come back. Now, if you're working with existing clients, you already have all their information, so you might not be going through this. Now, I would suggest that maybe one thing you could do is go through this. You don't need to get their name and their date of birth. You probably have all that. You don't need to know, but maybe what you do is you do a 21 light and you find out, do they have all their legal documents? And then maybe take them through these goals to give them a reason to quickly give you their investment statements. Because if all you're doing is you're saying, hey, Mr. Tax Client, you know, we really should sit down and take a look at your investments. What are they going to say? If you're their accountant or you're their tax preparer, if you were my accountant or my tax preparer, and I'm not the easiest person, I'm laid back, but I don't say much. But if my accountant or my tax preparer said, hey, I'm doing your taxes, and you know, we also do investments here, and you've known that, and maybe we should take a look at your investments and see with everything that's going on if you know how things are going, or if maybe you couldn't do better. Guess what I would say? Me, laid back me. Sure, we should do that. And then when he tried to put it on the calendar, guess what I would say? Oh, well, I don't have my schedule with me, and you know, when we get home, we'll take a look at it, and then we'll give you a call. That's what I would say. Now, I'm going to guess that's what most people say. I'm not going to be confrontational. I'm not going to tell them no. I'm not going to do it. And if he called me 4 or 5 or 6 times to reach out to me and encourage me to do it, well, then I might cave because I'm easy and go in. But that's what it's going to take. So if that's all you're doing, then it's no surprise that it takes forever just to get the investment statements. But I guess what I'm wondering is, once you get the investment statements, why aren't they coming back? My guess is it's because you're not giving them a reason to come back. So you have to give them a reason to come back. And that's why I'm encouraging you, hey, why don't you go ahead and just gather a little bit more information? You don't have to do a whole fact find, just ask them about their legal documents and then go through these goals with them. That's one reason. If you can't do that, if you don't feel comfortable doing that, or you feel like I already did that, use the power of attorney and how it won't work with Social Security as a reason. That's worked wonders for guys that have Medicare clients. Hey, I just want to make sure your power of attorney is going to work with Social Security. Reach back to you. Use the elevator speech. Hey, there's some, with interest rates going up, there might be some ways we can increase your income. Hey, one thing I've learned is how to, if the husband passes away or if the spouse passes away, how to replace that Social Security income. Or use the fact that interest rates are going up. Hey, with interest rates going up, some things have changed. Maybe we should get back together. But have a reason for them to come back that you can explain. So if you can't explain the reason that you're asking them to come back, then guess what? They're not coming back. They're not going to think that there's any reason. So if all you do is you say, hey, you should come back, the market's been really volatile, we should take a look at that. Well, you gave them a reason, but you didn't explain it. So guess what they're going to think? Yeah, it's been volatile, but whatever. Give them a reason and then explain why that matters. And then they'll go ahead and come back and give you the investment statements. Once they give you the investment statements, you shouldn't be taking a really long time to get back in front of them. If it is taking a long time, then so be it. But again, the longer it takes, guess what? And you guys tell me it. I can't get back in front of them. They don't seem that excited anymore. You got to give them a reason. Once they come in and you do the 21-point checklist, the 21-point checklist motivates people to act quickly. And then once you do that, you're going to make some sort of a pitch. Typically, it's a sale plan, something that's tangible to act on, and they're going to act quickly. And so the idea is that if you're working with a prospect, these give them reasons to act within that first 4 or 5 week time period. If you're working with a client, somebody who knows you, somebody who trusts you, somebody who's willing to meet with you, yeah, they're going to act even more quickly. It should take less time, not more time. And again, you guys do close these cases, but not because they're excited about your ideas, but because you get 3, 4, 5 bites at the apple. You call them, they don't want to come in. You call them the following month, they don't want to come in. You call them the following month, they don't want to come in. You call them the 4th month, they do want to come in. Why? Not anything you did. And one of the things that we want to make sure is that, we want to make sure that we're good at using motivational interviewing to motivate people. That's what motivational interviewing is about, motivating people. See, we can't make somebody go faster than they want to go. That's not what I'm telling you to do. What I'm telling you to do is get good at talking with people and having them discover reasons that they want to go quicker rather than slower. Help them discover reasons to go quickly. That's the skill that we should all be building. And getting them from beginning to end in a timely fashion is something that we can practice and get better at. And who better to practice on than existing clients who are free to get in front of? Because I guarantee you, if you're not good at this with existing clients, you're not good at this with prospects either. And it's no wonder you don't want to market. Because if you're bad with existing clients, then deep down, I'm going to be bad with prospects and it's not going to turn out well. But here's the good news. You get to practice for free on existing clients. And if you get good with existing clients, then guess what you're going to know? Well, I'm going to be good with everybody, just like I'm good with everybody now. So let's make sure we're practicing going at a timely pace. It's not about just moving faster. It's about motivating people. It's about learning the system, learning the scripts, learning the process, and getting good at it so that people want to go quicker instead of slower. So let's make sure we're building good practice habits and we're practicing the right thing. All right. Next thing I want to talk about, and this is something that kind of calls back to what Jerry talked about earlier, and something that's been in the news an awful lot, and that is inflation. So we've all heard about inflation. We all know what inflation is. The questions we all have are, how high will it go? And how long will it last? And how does that affect my clients? So there's a saying that you can fool some of the people all of the time and all of the people some of the time, but you can't fool all of the people all of the time. And so really what I mean by that is the market has a way of it can't predict the future, but it speculates on the future, and it's amazing how accurate it is. The reason it's so accurate is because the way that it does it is that it collects the information that's available to everybody, and then we all weigh in. It's kind of like we're all deciding, not just you and me, but also everyone at Treasury, all the professionals at BlackRock or Oppenheimer or PIMCO or wherever it is. We're all weighing in, and we're all kind of coming up with our best guess based on the available information. And it's amazing that when we all do that collectively, how accurate how accurate our predictions become. And so the market has actually weighed in and baked in its best guess as to what inflation will be over the next 10 years. And you can look at it anytime you want. It's actually the 10-year Treasury versus the TIPS spread. So what you do is you take the 10-year Treasury and subtract the yield on the TIP. So the yield on the TIP is what a TIP would pay you above and beyond inflation. So the TIP is going to have some yield that they then add inflation onto, and that's what you get. And that's how you can be assured that it's going to keep up with inflation. So if we knew what the 10-year Treasury was trading at, and we knew what the TIP yield was, then we could kind of deduce that that gap, that difference, is what people think inflation will be. And so as of May 26th, the bond yield was 2.75. We subtract the TIP yield, and so we see that the market has decided that inflation is probably going to be 2.62%. That's the 2.75 minus the 0.13. 2.62% over the next 10 years. Well, it's way higher than 2.62, so they must expect it to come down and stay down over time. That's the best estimate. Now, again, estimated by who? Well, estimated by everyone that participates in the market, and that includes institutional investors and economists. Anyone who has a stake in the market, that's who's weighing in, and collectively our best guess is that inflation will be 2.62%. So how does that compare with historical inflation rates? Well, it's pretty right in there. I mean, other than those big dips when interest rates went way down, inflation tends to run between 2 and 3%, kind of in that 2.5% mark. So that 2.62% is everyone saying we still think, in spite of everything that's happened, that inflation will still be 2 to 3% over the next 10 years. Now, that was on May 26th. What is it now? Well, here's the latest numbers from the St. Louis Fed. So inflation over the next 10 years is expected to be 2.13% minus the negative 0.72. So, if you're familiar with math, if you minus a negative, it actually turns into a positive. So basically what they're saying is, well, now instead of 2.62%, we're expecting inflation over the next 10 years to be about 2.85%. Now, here's the question. Should we be concerned that 2.85% is higher than the 2.62% that we anticipated last month? Because that seems like a pretty big bump in just a single month. Does that mean inflation is going to be closer to 4 or 5% if we see it moving up in just a month? Probably not. And the reason that I say that is the inflation numbers are backward looking. So we get the inflation numbers after the fact. We look backward and see what inflation was, and then we report it. And so that we're reporting in some ways old information. And so we could still see projections inch up based on that new information before they glide back down. But the difference between the 7-8% that's getting reported and this 2.85% is still pretty. That's a big difference. And so the market's saying, hey, even though inflation's high, we still expect it to go way down. And probably the reason for that is most market participants are saying, hey, this inflation is due to the fact that we had the pandemic, we had a lot of stimulus. People couldn't spend money, so they were saving money. And now that, we're starting to open things back up, there's all this pent-up demand, and there's still supply chain issues that are kind of choking supply. And so that's why you see this big increase in prices. But that's temporary. And as the Fed increases interest rates, which we fully expect them to do, it's going to come back down to normal. Regardless, even if they inch up because the inflation numbers are backward looking, and this is more current time, and we're building in new and better information as we go along, we still think inflation is going to be in that 2.5% to 3% range. And again, that's well within those historic averages. So I guess what I want to tell people is the takeaway is maybe don't panic. This isn't a time to panic. It's a good time to be proactive. It's a good time to call your clients and have them come in so you can walk them through all of this. But it isn't necessarily the time to move everything around and start wondering, how am I going to change everything? Don't panic. But here's a question that I always, regardless of what it is, whether we're talking about investments or we're talking about buying a car or we're talking about buying whatever, I always tell people to consider the flip side, because that's how you come to a good decision. Get all the information, look at it, make a decision, and then ask yourself this question: what if we're wrong? I mean, we think inflation is going to be kind of in that 2.5% to 3% range over the next 10 years, but what if we're wrong? What if we see inflation like we saw back in the 70s and the early 80s, when it wasn't 2.5% or 3%, it was 8 or 9%. What if we see that? Then what? Well, here's something that I always tell people, and this is something that you can tell clients too. You know what we always, all of us, it's just all of us, human nature is we want certainty. We want to know what's going to happen so that we can make a good decision. But certainty isn't something that we can have. Certainty is a feeling, it's not a fact. So we can't have certainty as much as we would like certainty. But what we can have is a plan. So we can't have certainty, but we can have a plan. And now here is a plan that I encourage everyone on the call to be familiar with. So we've talked about the sale plan. The sale plan is what we call a glide path plan. So if you've been on these calls before, you know we've talked about the fact that there are 3 different kinds of withdrawal plans. There's fixed rate withdrawal plans, there's variable rate withdrawal plans, and then there's glide path plans. And that's kind of what the sale is, a variation of a glide path plan. And sometimes we think of the sale plan as only a plan for people that are taking income. But it can also be a plan for people that are in the growth phase and people that are close to retirement but not necessarily taking income, and maybe thinking about the possibility that we might take income in the future. So it's a plan for people who are not even thinking about income. They're still growing their money. It's a plan for people who aren't sure if they're going to take income, but they want to be able to take income. And it's also a plan for people that are post-retirement and are taking income from their investments. So it's a plan for all 3, whether you're growing your money and not planning on taking income, whether you're not retired and not taking income, but not sure if you're going to take income, or if you are retired and you are taking income. This is a plan for all of those people. And it's a plan that works regardless of whether the market is up or the market is down. This is a plan that works whether inflation is up or inflation is down. This is a plan that works whether interest rates are up or interest rates are down. This is a plan that works in any environment. And so if your clients, here's the thing that I really want you to take away from all of this. If your clients think that you manage their investments, if that's what your clients think, that you manage their investments, well, then these next few years could be very rocky for you, because we're going to see a thing I can't even predict what we're going to see. And I know it's going to cause a lot of uncertainty, and people are going to get anxious. And when your clients are anxious, that's not good for your practice. So if your clients think that you manage their investments, this is going to be a tough 12 to 18 months, maybe longer for you. If your clients think that you manage their retirement plan, and there's a difference, then everything will work out fine for you. In fact, you may even grow your business, because you'll probably get referrals and poach money from guys who are just managing people's investments. So we can't have certainty, but we can have a plan. Am I worried about inflation? No. Why am I not worried about inflation? because I have a plan that works whether inflation is high or low. So if you're interested in stabilizing your business and even growing your business, you have to get out of the business of managing people's investments and start giving people retirement plans or growth plans and managing their plan. And remember what they think. You might think, oh, I've got a plan for my clients, but they might think, oh, you're just managing my investments, and my investments, I'm not sure what they're doing right now. Well, then you're the guy that's in trouble. Make sure you have a plan, that you communicate that plan to your clients, that your clients can communicate it back to you so that they know that they have a plan. So that maybe at worst, all you have to do right now is get them back in and remind them that you have a plan, and it doesn't matter. Your plan works no matter what inflation does. We don't think it's going to be bad, but if we're wrong, no worries. Our plan still works. So make sure you're managing somebody's plan and you're not just some guy that's managing people's investments. Again, we're all here if you need anything. So yeah, just that's all I've got for you today. Just give us a call and get out there and take advantage of the fact that things are better than they've been in a long time for us. Products are getting better for managing people's plans, and people know that we have a plan. We're poised to get a lot of referrals. So yeah, everything's good for us. Thanks, guys. We'll talk to you. No, we won't. Next week is 4th of July. Is that right?
That is correct. Next week we will be off for the 4th of July. So we'll be back at you on July 11th.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Happy 4th, guys.